why your favorite teacher started teaching in the first place? Everyone has their own story about their career path, which most of us are unaware of, even though we see them every day and they impact our lives greatly. Which begs to the question of where our educators began and what it took them to get where they are. Here are some of their origin stories.
When and why did you start teaching?
I started teaching in 1995.
So I started teaching in 1997.
A while ago.
Yeah.
I think the first time that I started teaching, I wasn't even really necessarily thinking about it, but I worked at a summer camp for a bunch of years.
I started teaching in the fall of 2020.
I had been an English education major at the University of Maryland, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know what I wanted to teach, but I majored in English and got my teaching degree. And I would have to say I was inspired by my 12th grade AP English teacher, who was excellent, and I really got inspired during that particular year because I was kind of a musical person, so I either wanted to be a band teacher or an English teacher. And then my third choice, interestingly, was I wanted to be a film director. So it's interesting that now I do video production.
Out of college, even though I always wanted to be a teacher, actually my parents said that they wouldn't pay for college if I was going to be a teacher. So they didn't think teachers made enough money. I did research for 10 years and I loved it, but I kind of, at about 8 years in, I kind of figured that wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. One day in particular, I was kind of just sitting there thinking, well, what do I ultimately want to do? Let's say I got my degree in forensic science. I realized I'd want to teach at the FBI Academy, and every single thing that I thought of, even if I got my PhD, it came down to the fact that I wanted to teach.
In art school for painting and printmaking, and kind of, I think at that point, I also really realized that I loved working with people as well as working with art and kind of thinking about combining them. But it wasn't actually until I had a different job where I was a job coach for people with disabilities, and basically helping people access jobs, but then also learn how to do the jobs and then eventually work independently. And I really realized that was a whole lot like teaching, and that I wanted to earn my teaching certificate and teach in public school.
The pandemic had hit and I was looking for a job.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of a tough job market out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I always liked teaching. So
Yeah.
I started tutoring and then I sort of got into it, and I loved it. It was an excellent experience, just living and going every day and teaching kids, and interacting with them and seeing the growth that they could make in a time where it felt like such little growth was happening, personally and professionally for most people in the world.
So why do you think you decided to teach high schoolers stuff?
I actually didn't. I started out as a 7th grade English teacher, although you do specialize elementary versus secondary. So I was certified for 6 through 12. But when I got my master's in library science, which is what you need to become a media specialist, I did want to be in a high school. So when I came to River Hill, that was on purpose. But
I don't know. I mean, I really loved high school, and I do get a lot of students who didn't know that they love biology. So I think it's kind of formative, not like elementary school, but I wouldn't like the content of elementary or middle school. I really am a molecular biologist. I love molecular biology, so that's high school level. So that would make it high school, and then again, just the idea that you can have a big influence on what people might do for the rest of their life or help them get prepared for college. It's just kind of more what I was about.
That's such a great question too, because art, you get certified in pre-K all the way through 12. And so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. You also get to do student teaching at different levels, which is kind of awesome. But I was pretty open to everything, although it's interesting because I did sort of just assume that I would end up with elementary students. I don't even know why, but that's that's not what happened. And I love teaching high school, and now I sort of can't imagine like doing anything else.
Many of these teachers have been teaching for years, and much has changed since they started. That being said, what keeps them doing what they do?
What, if anything, has changed since you started teaching?
Well, I think most teachers would tell you that each time a year resets to a new year, it's like starting fresh. But what's interesting in particular about my teaching job is it's technology related, and the technology is changing constantly. So when I first got here, I was doing video editing tape to tape, and now it's all on computer. And just it's never, each year it's never the same thing twice. Not just because the students constantly are coming in and out, but the technology and the way that we teach changes year to year.
Since I started teaching, more of like, I guess, having to, like the evaluation process is more difficult. I don't know. I do feel like the climate, I mean, it's also been different with all the different principals that come, you know, every principal kind of has a, I don't know, kind of a leadership quality that kind of goes with the school. So, I mean, there's been a lot of changes.
I feel like everything changed, but at the same time, I don't know if this answers your question, but it's what I started thinking about when you asked. It's like everything changed about how, like the mechanics of teaching, like, you know, we're on computers, we like, you know, as an art teacher, like not having materials to give to students as easily, or like being able to sort of like see students work directly, like all of that was different. But then in a way, it's like what was most important about teaching didn't change, and that is, in my opinion, like making connections with students and trying to like support students. And so like in a way, I feel like it reinforced what to me was most important about teaching, and in some ways let me kind of let go of things that like were not really all that important in the end, because I think like in the end what's most important is supporting students and like, you know, helping students with like, you know, mental health and emotional health, and then you know, working into, you know, curriculum and making educational goals and that sort of thing. But it's like, I don't know, like it, in a way, I guess what I'm trying to say is it got rid of a lot of distractions, possibly.
River Hill is a prestigious school in Howard County, but that's not the only reason our educators choose to teach here. The school has several other attractive features, such as its students.
And what do you like about River Hill?
I like that River Hill has a very self-motivated student body. So a lot of times, I always say this, that a lot of students would learn in spite of their teachers rather than because of their teachers, depending on how dedicated their teachers are. Because you could pretty much give them a textbook and they'll figure it out on their own with the teacher acting as facilitator. That's not totally true, but it almost seems like that sometimes, where the students are intrinsically motivated at River Hill to learn. So I think that makes them stand out amongst the other high schools.
I mean, I honestly love my students. I think we have super motivated, like kind, nice students. I feel like sometimes River Hill gets a bad rap, like people are spoiled.
Being too
but
competitive?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm a competitive person, so I kind of like that competitive, be the best kind of attitude with my students and with field hockey. I love my field hockey players, and the parents that I've been able to work with through field hockey have been awesome. So I love my department. I really miss this year the socialization with my department friends.
Oh, so much. I love like the community. I love the students. I love like, I don't know, like just getting to work together. I think that there's a great staff, and you know, I think in Howard County in general, like including at River Hill, we're really fortunate to have people who just care a lot about education. We're also really fortunate to have like, you know, pretty good resources to, you know, provide like a lot of different stuff for students.